Congressman Quigley is still a good hockey player. Did you know that, Jen?
I did not.
Yeah, he's very good.
But I'm sure he is.
And we're talking off the air. Occasionally runs into Connor Bedard, this kid, super kid, the future of the Blackhawks, we hope. Hawk season starting pretty soon, Congressman.
October 21st, opening night.
We're looking forward to anything we can hope for in positive news in Chicago sports. So,
We'll do that.
In the middle of your Washington weekend, I don't know if you heard, but the Bears, not good. So
yeah, I'm going to go back to D.C. for the good news.
Boy.
Let me hit you with some fundamentals here. A 45-day continuing resolution means the government's bills are paid for 45 days, or does it mean more than that?
It means all we can do is kick the can down the alley and not address these issues. It's the worst way possible to govern. And this measure did not include border security, and it didn't include a supplemental for Ukraine funding. Probably the worst message we could have sent our allies, and the best news that Putin could have gotten out of the weekend.
Well, you make a great point. It's a hell of a message to our enemies, too, then, isn't it?
That's right. Putin seems very willing to use his people as cannon fodder. And if that's your strategy, you can wait a long time. His whole point was at some point, NATO and the U.S. will weaken and lose resolve. And when you see Representative Miller, my colleague from Southern Illinois, have a sign up that says Ukraine is not the 51st state, I would remind her that in 1939, Great Britain wasn't, France wasn't, Czechoslovakia wasn't,
exactly
Poland.
right.
And the lessons from that time are here. I mean, this is why we fought the Second World War. This is why we formed the democratic world order afterwards. And by the way, it's Ukrainian blood being shed. The least we could do is give them the resources they need to fight Soviet aggression, which was, I use that term for a reason. We had a vote midweek, I think you'll find interesting. It was a vote standalone to supply Ukraine. Every Democrat voted for it. 117 Republicans voted against it versus 102 Republicans that voted for it. That was a quintessential Reagan policy vote in this term of office. It is a policy now dead, ironically, among the Republican Party members.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. The Republican Party has turned into the party that ostensibly is offhandedly supporting Vladimir Putin by not doing the right thing. And then, of course, you got the other drama, Jane.
Well, the other drama seems to be some fighting in-house here, of course, is Representative Matt Gaetz. What are your thoughts on him trying to oust Kevin McCarthy?
This is Matt Gaetz, more his ego, more settling old scores, those an old feud those two have, and really less what's good for the country. And it's destructive because we've got a pipeline. There's only so much floor time, so much ability to move forward. It's not just funding the government we have to do. We have critical reauthorizations to do as well. So what I would tell folks who find to think about supporting the far right is this is not your father's Republican Party. They're not pro-business. They're not pro-defense. In fact, I would say they are a danger to our economy, our democracy, our national security. And the reason I say that is national security expert Fiona Hill said polarization is a risk to our national security because the world's watching and they can see that we can't govern. We saw the examples this weekend. That's a threat. Look, they don't just add to the polarization. They make governing, even among conservatives like McCarthy, almost impossible. So my message to Mr. McCarthy is, why do you keep courting them? It's like a really bad...
Well, it seems like he's got an opportunity to clean break here. The question is, what does he do with the clean break? Because he has stepped over the line, and we actually live in a time where the greatest crime you could commit is working with Democrats. which is absolute insanity. Now, you're a Democrat who's worked with the Republicans all the time. You have no problem working with Republicans on anything. It seems to me there are few and there are less of you every single day.
Well, there probably are, but I would say that I have less dance partners on the right than we used to. The centrist Republicans, they face real threats in primaries because the farthest right, they tend to be benefited by how Republican primaries work and how the maps are drawn.
But let's also call out the truth there, and the ultimate truth is there. It's because people don't show up to vote in primaries.
Well, the people who do tend to be people who are more adamant.
100%. And if moderates showed up to vote in primaries, you could put an end to that nonsense, too.
Sure. And the way they draw maps, there's only going to be about 40 contested races a year from November. So most members are more worried about their primary, therefore more worried about staying out to the far left or the far right, and they're unable to help and function and govern. So then it comes down to who's willing to risk their seat to compromise. But when McCarthy reached out, when we had the debt ceiling issue in June, we had a deal. All this was resolved. It was bicameral. It was bipartisan. It was kumbaya. And a week later, the far right made him renege on that deal, and here we are today.
45 days, rinse and repeat?
Yeah.
It just can't happen that way. So, look, if they want to meet in the middle, I always told you the story that Mark Kirk's first bit of advice when I got elected was everything gets done in the middle. There's some truth to that. It doesn't mean you give up what you care about. It means that there's more that unites this country than divides us.
Well, it also means you win some and you lose some. And if you're in the majority party, you're more likely to win a little more, but it doesn't mean you get all of it. What are you, 6, 7 years old? My 7 3/4-year-old granddaughter is way more mature than most of the people you serve with.
Well, we have some petulant children, and you can't reward them. So I'm going to go back in a little bit and see if we can't get something done.
Well, look, I always appreciate your time. I know you're running off to something right now, so I appreciate you jumping on. We'll do this again soon, but please continue to be sane, please.
We'll give it a shot.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
And that path, sanity, that's just one of the options. It's like telling the truth in Washington. It's one of the options.
Well, wouldn't it be great to get updates over the next 45 days that they're making strides together? But it's not going to happen.
Well, this is
like you said, it's this rinse and repeat. In 45 days, we're going to be waiting on pins and needles for the same answer.
This is how broken our system is. There used to be honor, and honor meant there was a way to self-govern yourself when you were governing for the people. There is no honor anymore. The job is to keep the job. Mm-hmm. The job is to not serve. The job is to stay in power and keep the job. And for that reason, you spend the majority of your time trying to generate publicity, coming up with as much as you possibly can to allow you to keep the job, and almost nothing that's good for the people that elected you. Now, that's a guy, Quigley, who I'd keep. There's 545 of them.
He's one of me to keep.
Yeah, he's one. We start making a list of who the keepers are.
We should do that.
And everybody else is kicked off the island.